Welcome to the Power of Oxygen First, where we scale your life first so your business can actually breathe. I'm your host, Dot Rock. Oxygen First means you protect your energy first. You build your life first. You take care of your nervous system first. Then you scale. Because success without oxygen, that's just burnout with better branding. Around here, we talk about real leadership, how to hire your peanut butter instead of just doing it all yourself, how to fire with grace when something's expired, no more breadcrumbs, how to grow or go, and how to receive support without apologizing for it. This isn't hustle culture. It's sustainable success. It's leadership with oxygen. So let's pause and take a deep breath. Let's build something that actually feels like home. Well, hello, my podcast friends. Welcome back to the Power of Oxygen First. Today's episode feels so deeply personal to me because I am sitting down with someone who has genuinely changed my life. My guest today is Lynn Joselyn. She's a certified physical assistant, PA. She's a functional medicine practitioner, and she is founder of Integrated Spectrum of Health. And one of the things that makes Lynn so incredibly unique is that she has combined over 20 years of a conventional medical experience as a PA with deep training in both functional and integrative medicine. This is really quite rare. And she understands all of these worlds. She understands the traditional medical system, testing, diagnostics, and acute care, while also deeply understanding root cause healing, nervous system regulation, circadian health, toxins, inflammation, lifestyle, and really whole person wellness. She's the person I go to when I might be having a symptom, but there's usually something driving that is a root cause. And that's when we're really making progress on changing things, right? So the combination that she has is one of the reasons that I trust her so deeply, because this healing journey that I've been on isn't just about rejecting conventional medicine. It's about expanding the conversation and looking at the entire human being sitting in front of you. And that's what she does so well. So that's why I call her my health goddess, my guiding light. Lynn entered my life during one of the hardest seasons I have walked through physically with my health, right after my liver failed, right after I had that conversation with my doctor saying if things didn't improve quickly, I'd be put on the transplant list. When they told me I had to really take this seriously, this was when my body felt completely inflamed, dysregulated, exhausted. I had just been diagnosed with Sjogren's autoimmune disease about 6 months prior. And it was 2022. This is like when we're all kind of trying to come out of COVID, right? So when I met her, I had autoimmune markers. I had severe inflammation. I had aura migraines where I can't see because of the light waves. I had mold toxicity and all of those things in my body. While it looked healthy on the outside, I was working out every day, moving my body, and most people would think I was healthy. Internally, it was really screaming for help. I remember meeting her, and I could tell she was very cautious to work with me until we looked at each other in the eyes and we knew we were meant to work together. So, what I love about Lynn's approach is that she has never treated me like a checklist. She has always treated me like I'm a whole human. She has always listened when I said I'm really sensitive and I'm a redhead. Today's conversation, we're actually talking about functional medicine and what it actually means, mold toxicity and autoimmune illness, how they go together, circadian rhythm, and why light matters so much more than people realize. We're talking about structured water, hydrogen water, nervous system regulation, and cellular energy, and why there's just no one size fits all wellness formula. And finally, we talk about how learning to trust our body is one of the most important forms of self leadership that there is. You guys, this episode is part science, part intuition, and part healing. And honestly, it's one of my favorite kind of conversations because it's oxygen first. So take a deep breath. Maybe go outside in the morning light while you listen to this one because we're diving into the circadian rhythm. Well, hello, Lynn. Welcome to the podcast. I am so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here, Dot.
Yay! So, as my intro states, Lynn is my health goddess,
Aw,
guiding light. And when did we meet? Was it in, I want to say 2022?
I
Is that
think
when we started
so.
working together? Right after my liver failed, I had realized based on another person who was just on the podcast, Becca Kyle, a childhood friend of mine, had said, I don't think it's just autoimmune. I think you have a mold issue. And she
Mhm.
had sent me some tests, and we had realized I had a lot of mold. And that's when I found you and we started working together. Do you remember when we had our very first Zoom when you met me and I'm like, "Oh yeah, my liver was just failing. I was just on the transplant list. Can you help me?"
I do remember that because I was kind of like, yeah, no. My initial
Flax.
was I really wanted to be clear, like people with liver failure, it's a big deal. And so I wanted to be super transparent that I know my limits. And you, I recall, still were like, thank you. And I would like to move forward and explore things. And I think I said, okay, great. And we'll just go really slow and we'll check your
Mhm.
liver functions a lot. And kind of a fun thing that I will tell you, not fun necessarily, but because I took you on as a patient, I have since had another patient follow up with me after almost full liver failure. So it did open the door for others by just our work together and realizing that we can go slow and really support the body to heal.
We really did. I think part of that was that commitment to move the needle, but not knowing how long it might take or what steps it might take, which for myself as an entrepreneur and probably for you, it's such a guiding light in our businesses anyway.
Absolutely. Yes.
But it's not the traditional model of medicine.
It isn't. I mean, I came from the traditional model and I was in conventional medicine for years, over 20 years. And that model, although it's really necessary for many things, is really more about let me give you something to fix this now. Whereas what I love about my work now is it's really like, how can I continue to get to know this person physiologically, spiritually, emotionally, and we can pull layers off. And then the body will reveal what we need to know. And so, yes, we do
Yes.
testing. Sometimes I talk about rapid relief versus long term, more sustainable healing. Sometimes there's need for rapid relief, right? People come in, they're constipated, they
Mhm.
have severe histamine stuff that's giving them rashes and they're itching. We may need to get in there and put kind of a band aid or something to really help, but that's not end all be all. Then we start to uncover or untangle the body. And I really feel with you, there was a lot of untangling to do because
Yes.
it wasn't just the mold, right? It wasn't just one thing.
Right. I mean, I presented with recent liver failure, a positive ANA, an autoimmune disease, Sjogren's, possibly lupus. We still don't really know
Mm-hmm.
if that is a thing for me or not. I still have Sjogren's antibodies that are off the charts. Just tested those last week, right? Because I was having some layer like challenges. Moving tends to both reground us and disrupt us at the same time in beautiful ways. And, I presented with all of that. And I think we just like, there were a lot of weeds to pull. I look healthy, right?
You look
And,
healthy, yes.
and even then, it's not like I presented looking sick. And I presented to you as a person who consistently moves my body, even then.
Mhm.
But it's interesting to me how I think I had a lot of symptoms when we started, and those symptoms were a lot of joint pain, a lot of inflammation that no matter what I was doing wasn't under control. A lot of aura migraines, a lot of stuff that was mold. But then we dug up other
Yeah.
things.
And that's the hard part. I think a lot of times people want to know the one thing. Okay, it's mold. I'm going to take care of that. Right. But
Mhm.
it's never the one thing because our bodies are so complex and the interwoven systems that are working together. So I like to think of it as a bucket. right? And mold is one of the things in the bucket. Autoimmune is one of the things in the bucket. Inflammatory, childhood experiences and traumas, other exposures that we're getting, right? So these are all in our bucket. And then once the water goes up over the bucket line and spills out, those are symptoms. And so if we take mold out, which we try, is that enough, right, for people to bring that water back down? It's multifactorial when I'm working with somebody. And often, if the mold has been in the system for a long time, which I think is your case, since childhood,
Definitely.
likely, that can be one of the things that turns on the actual autoimmune disease, right? Because we have a genetic predisposition for something. And if there's something that turns that on, then you get the disease. And mold is very much one of the toxins that can turn autoimmune processes on. So we don't know for sure what came first, but
We don't. And I do know we had mold in my home when I was a child. I grew up in San Marcos, Texas, where it's very humid. I remember mold growing on the bathroom walls at times very quickly. It's not like our house was super dirty, just you get some moisture and man, does it grow there in that
absolutely.
climate. And then at the time when I started working with you, we had found excessive mold in our current home. I can't recall if when I was working with you, I moved out or if I had moved out before I worked with you.
During, because I remember you found
I
that
think it was
house.
maybe a month then that we
Yeah,
worked together before I was like, I'm out, I'm
it was
moving.
pretty close.
Yeah. And that shift changed a lot in my business, making that decision. I had a lot of abundance suddenly pour into my business. A client that I still have, that's one of my larger clients, reached out to me that day that I moved out, which I always think is interesting when we take these big steps towards what we know is right for us. And anybody else can tell us it's not right for us.
So it's like following that inner knowing, even though
Mhm.
the world tells us not to. It might be presumptuous of me to say, but I think that's one of your superpowers, is in my experience in working with you. And I think this is a powerful thing for your listeners as well, because I think you would come to me and say, oh, yeah, this is what's happening. I'm doing this now. And you were so clear. And that usually came from that thing sort of in your body versus necessarily a logic intellect piece, right? Is powerful. I've seen that again and again with people once they listen, and myself, even with clients. Is it going to be a good fit or not? If I get that little contraction, but I don't follow through, then I go, oh, I should have listened, right? I feel like we're in each other's
Absolutely.
worlds for reasons when you work with people, but
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I talk a lot with people about hiring, which is not different than you taking on a client, right?
exactly.
It's the same thing. And going on dates, same thing. You know within 30 seconds, really, if it's the right fit or not. And then from there, you start to try to talk yourself in it. Well, maybe I could go out with this guy a couple more times. Well, maybe I just don't know enough about him. I could probably be really boundaried with this person as long as I sent them the structure that I want to work with. Okay, and then I could also fire them, right? Like, I'm sure it's the same for you when you take on someone to work with.
Absolutely. This is a lesson for all of us in all the things, right? Even when somebody's vetting to work with you or I, it's got to be a good fit. And yes, things grow and change, and we can learn from all of our relationships, but it is a relationship. And especially in
Mhm.
the sort of work that I want, or the offering I want to provide, I want it to be relational. I mean, I get to know my patients so well, I
Mhm.
love it when they move on because that's the model of my practice. And I don't hear from them with just a check in. Then I go, oh, I
Mhm.
wonder how Dot's doing. It's a relationship.
Well, recently, so I took a little break from working with you. I was feeling really good. I want to say like last June, right before the move, and we kind of decided let's not work together for a bit. And now recently, we started working together again. Some hormone challenges, some maybe autoimmune challenges, maybe related to hormones, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. And it's so interesting to me because the day I reached out to be like, Lynn, something's not right, which is my bladder spasms that I've been having. My listeners are well aware of those. You were like, oh my gosh, I was just thinking of you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we've
Yeah.
stayed connected even though we haven't been in contact.
Absolutely. That has happened a couple times with us. It's very sweet. You also came into our relationship open and curious and willing, which is really the key to a collaborative relationship. in my work. I'm not sort of the person that is the expert saying you must do this. It's let's look at these things together. This is what's presenting to me with my knowledge. How does that feel to you? I feel like you do really well in that setting because you are incredibly curious, open, and smart.
For me, my medical stuff has been lifelong. And I think that is a big component of my advocacy of putting on your oxygen mask first. We have to feel safe and secure, and our bodies also need to feel good in order for us to run successful businesses, in order for us to be parents that are pouring from full cups, right? And so, thank you for that compliment. But I do think I've come into this because I've had medical problems my whole life. And they're probably not going away. I'm going to be a redhead forever. I'm going to be extra sensitive in both directions, where it means I respond really well to treatment. But if I didn't come at this with curiosity, I think I would be very resentful and angry, right? Like, I think the flip side of curiosity and adventure in my medical and health journey would be resentment and anger. And I don't want to wear the resentment anger hat. I want to feel as good as I possibly can. And you have absolutely helped me with that and continue to help me with that. But it means not accepting a checkbox of this is how you feel the best, right? Like, I think we're in this culture of Instagram that says, it's so surprising. It actually really works to eat 140 grams of protein, to take these 3 supplements, to fast every once a week, and to sleep 8 hours a day, right? And they're all good things. I'm not saying they're not, but my body doesn't like to fast.
Exactly.
My body doesn't necessarily need 140 grams of protein because that's actually based on your weight or your goals or your body's ability to process protein or. It is not a let me do what that beautiful woman on Instagram is doing to look really great.
And that's the hard part. I've had multiple people come to me and they're so frustrated because on those podcasts or Instagrams or things that are coming at us, it appears like everybody does this 6-point thing and they're cured, right? But that the reality is not. We are complex beings in a pretty toxic world, right? There's a lot of chemicals and things coming at us. There's a lot of stressors. Doesn't mean we can't hold both. There's a lot of beautiful things coming at us. And that's where we want to shine the light. But there's no one size fits all. You know this with diet culture, as far as the whole super low carb, high protein is kind of all the rave. No, that is not for everyone. You are somebody that needs some carbs, right? You need that fuel. And I have many patients that do. And then they feel it's really fascinating. The shame piece, a sense of shame, if they get a little carbs. And I'm like, well, maybe you needed those. Did you sleep better that night?
Yes.
It's an interesting piece that I think we have to be very discerning. But for the general population, or if they've never gone down this sort of journey, it's hard to discern. They just, like you said, see the beautiful person on there doing the 6 things. So
and presenting it as if, like, when you check these boxes, you will reach the peak of your health as well. It simply isn't true, because if that was true for me, I've checked more boxes than most people do in their entire lifetime, and I am 44 years old. So that's not true, but there are a set of things that you helped me implement in my life that I would love to talk about. But first, what is functional medicine? What is integrative medicine? What is this thing that you do?
So functional and integrative are technically different, but and I bulk them together. And it's not even necessarily different than conventional. What I try to put out is good care across the board. But to describe functional medicine, I would say we are looking at the integration of our systems together from more of a cellular based approach, right? The cells are moving through our whole body, whereas conventional is more siloed. It's you see the cardiologist for your heart, you see the endocrinologist for our endocrine systems like diabetes, thyroid, you see gastroenterologist for your gut. And I still use those specialists, right? If I see somebody and I'm like, we need a conventional check just to make sure some things aren't going on before we dive into a systems-based approach. Now, if you were to talk to a pure integrative practitioner, they're going to say they're different than functional in that they are more using a bridge of conventional, and integrative is more pulling from conventional. But at the end of the day, I think it's just good medicine. Are you looking at the whole person? Are you looking at a detailed timeline of their history back from when they were an infant? Are you asking the questions, really asking the questions about family history? Are you potentially looking at some genetics so that we can understand from a cellular perspective how the breakdown in your liver affected your immune system? So, or which came first, right? And then we bring the toxin in there. So those could be essentially 3 silos, but if we don't put them together, from my experience, you don't get as vitality outcomes. And you're exhausted because you're going to a lot of doctors or practitioners.
Absolutely. And doing things and spending money on supplements and copays and still not feeling great. I have frustration still in my health that I do a lot of things and it's frustrating to still have bad days. Because in my world, I do so much, I should have all good days. But I also wouldn't be human. That would be like saying I will only ever experience happy, good emotions.
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
is not the human experience. We experience sadness, disappointment, anger. That's the human experience, right? And so I think I see a
Absolutely.
lot of people who try to take that out of their health, their oxygen first with their health, right? But doesn't matter. You still gave me a toolkit and you continue to give me a toolkit when I work with you. What does it look like when someone comes and works with you when you accept them as a patient?
So we start with what I call a membership kickoff appointment, and that's a 90-minute deep dive. They do a lot of paperwork, probably 45 minutes to 60 minutes of filling out paperwork. I review that, then I see them, and we
To
really,
gather their history, to gather their family history, to understand a little bit of their lifestyle.
absolutely. And the questionnaire goes all the way back through when they were an infant, how were they delivered, what was their health as a young person, what were their life experiences? Did they have a big loss at an early age? Was there a traumatic brain injury? Did they play soccer and get headbutted multiple times? That is significant when we begin to put the puzzle pieces together. So then that first visit, I call it kind of just a big data dump. It's more information, and I really like to open that up to my patients. It's very open forum. I'm pulling things or noting things, but what I find when people, especially if they've been in more of a conventional setting and they have the opportunity to tell their story without time and just free flow, it's amazing what comes out from that first visit. And oftentimes things are identified that potentially shifted the trajectory of their health at that time in their life that they didn't see. In our current medical system, we're pretty rushed. If you go in and start to tell your health story, the practitioner gets anxious. I mean, I sat in that chair. We're
Oh
on
my
a time
gosh, you should
schedule.
see them when I just go for like a appointment. They start asking you some questions and you're like, when my liver failed 3 years ago, their eyes about pop out of their head. And then I'm like, well, and I had a hip labrum reconstruction in 2017 where they tied down the bone to my pelvic floor, right? And then I'm trying to quickly go through the information so that they only get the parts that are important to them. And then they don't want to hear me at all because there's so much.
There's so much.
That system doesn't work for most people. It certainly doesn't work for me.
No. The other thing I try to tell people is that first visit, I'm not going to have it all figured out. What I'm doing is gathering information, because that also is in our current Western medical system. The practitioner or the doctor, there's an idea that they're supposed to have it all figured out with that first visit. And there's no way. Our bodies are so complex. So
Right.
I've had to really work on that.
Because you're a physician's assistant.
Yeah. So I was trained in that. And so sometimes I get anxious. Oh gosh, I don't have it figured out, right? I need to. And then I have to pull back and go, oh, wait, this is collaborative. We're on this journey together. We're going to peel back layers. So that's what the first visit is. I have a really good exam skill. So we do a conventional exam, and then we move on to monthly visits. And those monthly visits are just further peeling, and we begin to order some testing, begin to layer on some supplements or even pharmaceuticals when needed. And a person's progress guides where we go.
Right.
Some are faster, some are slower.
Right. And then, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people like me that are like, I'm going to come back for some more.
Absolutely.
Because the relationship building, it works.
That trust is there for sure.
100% the trust is there, but I'm a little bit codependent on you to take additional prescription drugs, synthetic stuff, or even supplements because I'm like, how does that work with everything else I'm on? What would Lynn think about this? Is there something I'm missing? Because at this point, your opinion really does matter to me.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
I mean, it does, because there have been times where I've been like, oh, I probably would have taken that. And you're like, maybe with starting to drink hydrogen water, don't go too fast.
Right.
Why can't I drink water fast, as an example?
Absolutely.
So the concept of hydrogen water, would you mind talking about it for a quick second? I have my new structured water with the Mayu that you recommended. It's delicious. I'm drinking some right now.
Yeah.
It's filtered first and then I do the structured water. But hydrogen water is also a thing. Can you talk about that?
Yes, and they intersect. And so this is where it goes all the way down to our cellular physiology. So I'm going to geek out on a little bit of physiology to bring people in. And this is where the circadian biology piece will come in just a little bit. Much of medicine, both conventional, functional, integrative, plays in the biochemistry space, which is great. We are biochemical beings. There's millions of biochemical processes going on in our body at all times. The step before that is something called biophysics. And biophysics says, okay, great biochemistry, we need that. But we are, at the end of the day, we're neutrons and protons and electrons bouncing around. We're just matter, right? If you took it all the way back. So at the level of a cell, there's a charge like a battery. And we need this charge to be negative 70 millivolts at that. And many people are walking around with a flat charge. They don't have a charge in their cells. And what that means is in that cell, if we're just thinking of a cell with a charge, if that charge isn't there, the debris can't go out and get recycled. And the good nutrients, minerals can't come in because you need that charge to diffuse. So water at that level of how we play with electrons. So our electrons go through something called an electron transport chain. At the end of that is ATP. ATP is the gas of the body. It's like the gas for the car.
Right.
But before that is what we call easy water. And easy water has an extra hydrogen on it. And that's where hydrogen water comes in, is it adds that extra hydrogen. And without that step, we would not create as much ATP, gas, or energy. So people that are walking around with chronic fatigue, exhausted after workouts, wake feeling really fatigued, here's the question, is it playing in the biochemistry, or is it more about the charge? And how can we regain that charge? And so hydrogen water is one, structured water is one as well, because that easy water is actually structured water, which is actually, you have water, which is liquid, you have steam as gas, and then you have ice that's solid. Structured water is 1.5 water. So it's not frozen, it's not a solid, but it's right before that solid. It's organized. We need organized water to maintain the charge of our cells. And this is something I'm so excited about because it's also grounding, science of grounding. This is not woo-woo. And it's also light. Certain light at certain times of the day we need for charge.
Absolutely.
Morning light, one of the most critical, 10 minutes before sunrise, get out there, stay out there for 30 to 60 minutes if you can. And if you can have your feet in the ground at the same time, that's going to set your body up for that biophysics to then be able to move into the biochemistry to move forward to function vitally. So this is really the theory of vitalism. Did that make sense?
I get it. I mean, also, I'm sort of one of those people that if you tell me it works and it's going to feel good and I'm going to have more vitality, I'm
Mhm.
probably going to do it. And then I'm probably going to consistently do it if it really does make me feel better.
Mhm.
Right now, if I drink structured water for the next couple of months and I feel no different when I drink that water versus when I drink water out of the water faucet at baseball, I'm probably gonna just abandon it. If it's
Sure.
more work for me and
Mhm.
I'm not feeling any different, nah, probably not gonna keep doing it. But can we talk about that component of this that you brought up, which is circadian rhythm? What
Mhm.
is circadian rhythm? How do we track our circadian rhythm? And why does it matter?
So circadian rhythm is within all of us. It's set by light dark. You can reset your circadian rhythm when people go camping for a week, right? There's no artificial lights. We typically don't have alarms. You're waking with the sun. You're going to sleep as the sun goes down, right? There's nothing to keep you awake. But what is that setting? It's setting our hormones. So cortisol is an adrenal hormone. Its first rise is immediately when we wake up in somebody that has a healthy rhythm. So that is its highest
Mm,
component right when you wake up. And then it sets the clock for 12 hours later for melatonin, our
mm,
darkness hormone, to be
mm,
released at night. So they're inverse. Cortisol, highest in the morning, slowly goes down throughout the day. Melatonin, highest at night, slowly goes down. So they kind of do an X. If you think about somebody who is under artificial light all day long and into the
mhm,
evening, their body never gets the signal
mm.
to know that it's time to sleep because our artificial
Right.
blue light goes into our hypothalamus and says, it's noon. And so circadian biology is our body's natural rhythm in accordance with the light dark cycles of nature. That's the most basic definition and how to set that.
I know when I've worked in office settings where I don't have natural light coming in, that's when I get the darkest. That's when I question myself. That's when I feel overwhelmed. That's when my passions just tank, right? But I have noticed that even when I'm at someone's house who doesn't open the blinds during the day and have that light coming in, I am super triggered now. I'm like, can we open the blinds? This was something that my grandma taught me as a child, and I didn't know she was teaching me circadian rhythm. And I'm sure she didn't necessarily know, but she knew it was good to have light in your eyes right away. Right? It's the
Absolutely.
very first thing I do every day is I open the blinds. I generally wake up at the same time most every day, unless we have to get up super early for baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And I also shut them when the sun goes down. And then I
Mm-hmm.
do not turn on lights in my house. I do only dimmers, candles, and put on my blue light glasses. The blue light glasses are
Yeah.
new, thanks to you,
Mm-hmm.
because I was unable to sleep when we would go to
Mm-hmm.
DBAT, this place here in Fort Collins, to do baseball lessons at night. Well, they had fluorescent lighting way, 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 way up high in these big
Mm-hmm.
gymnasiums, right? And I know I would get home a little late, like 8:30, but I couldn't sleep till midnight,
Mm-hmm.
1 in the morning on those
Mm-hmm.
nights. Until I
Mm-hmm.
talked to you and you're like, blue light blockers. Why does
Absolutely.
that matter?
So, because the light is a signal to our body, it's basically noon, right? Those big fluorescent
Go
lights,
time.
go time. And not only that, but it's also the EMFs that are coming at us. Those are throwing the charge in our
Mhm.
cells.
And when you're a bit charged like me,
When you're already charged, yeah. You know, you're somebody that can get up and go, and you've got a lot
Mhm,
of things happening in your life, and you have fire, right? Which is a good
mhm,
thing, but it can get out of balance. And
mhm,
so the story about the noticing the big lights at baseball at night and not being able to sleep is
mhm,
so powerful.
mhm,
What doesn't happen for a lot of people is they don't make that connection. So
mhm,
then all of a sudden they can't sleep and then they get put on
mhm,
sleep medications. So it's a feed forward issue. So everything you're doing with nighttime lights is amazing. The other thing people can do is make sure that lights are low, which you are, they're
mhm,
dimmers, but anything overhead is also telling our bodies that it's a different time of day than night. This all has to do with blue light, and blue
mhm.
light turns on our it's time to be awake system in our hypothalamus. And so if you put these dimmers, you wear orange or red lensed glasses after sunset, you are setting your circadian rhythm. So even if you watch TV or you're on your computer, you put those glasses on.
I can still Netflix binge if I
You
want to.
can. Yeah.
Not that I'm really a Netflix binger, but kind of know this about me. In fact, if I could rest more, or if I would rest no more, everything would be a little better. But I'm a kind of a goer. But we got those orange lens glasses.
Uh-huh.
I wear those to DBAT. I don't care how freaky I look. In fact, we ended up getting an extra pair to leave in the car because one day I forgot to like grab my pair and take them. And now my son has asked for them as well. And he wore them
Wonderful.
actually for the first time last night while he was studying. He had a lot of homework to do. I thought about it this morning. I thought, my goodness, I remember being in all AP classes and working so hard and being that driven person and staying up late, sometimes midnight, one in the
Mhm.
morning to work on stuff, but then not being able to go to sleep. That was
So true.
probably my body's charge. And so I
Mhm.
said to him, I said, "Hey, how did you sleep last night?" Because I know he worked on homework. He's working on it all day, and I know he went to bed about 9 at night. And he said, "Mom, I slept so well. I had had those
Wow.
lenses on all evening."
It's pretty profound. And I will say, when we were talking about the wellness industry, you have to be careful, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
things to buy and such. But I believe that these blue blocking glasses have been a huge impact in my personal health and many people. But it's doing it. It's remembering to do it and test it, like you said with the water. Wear them for 6 weeks and
Yeah.
rate your sleep every night. Five
Mhm.
being the best night's sleep ever, and kind of see where you are in 6 weeks to see if it's
Mhm.
something you want to continue. But I consider it pretty low hanging fruit for almost anybody because we don't have to go to bed anymore. You can shop at midnight, right? If you're busy. Durango's a little
Right.
better. I don't know about Fort Collins, but stuff does shut down here. But
Mhm.
if you
Mhm.
live in a metro area,
I
it doesn't
mean,
shut.
it's so crazy living in a metro area now versus living in a small mountain town. When I order something on Amazon this morning, I could get it tonight or tomorrow morning.
That's
It's
crazy.
already here. That was what happened with his orange lens glasses, right? I think I ordered them yesterday morning and they were here by the afternoon. He put them on and he'd been trying to steal mine. And I was like, this is not happening because it's working. It is low hanging fruit. And next for me is to do the lens on my computer, though I'm not a person that sits in front of my computer that much,
Yeah.
probably in comparison to a lot of people. But when I do podcast batching or social media batching, I do spend longer stints at the
Uh-huh.
computer, right? And that would be a great time to either wear the lenses or put something on my computer.
Absolutely. Yeah, the app is called Iris as far as the blue blocking on your computer. It's pretty cool. You can toggle between health, which takes most of the blue light out. In the mornings, I get up super early. That's when my brain is freshest to work. So oftentimes I'm ready to do charting and things like that. You can actually put it on sleep mode and it's a red screen. And so you're not getting any blue light before sunrise. You want to protect what's coming in through your vision in the form of light from
Mm-hmm.
sunset to
Mm-hmm.
sunrise. And then as much natural light as you can get in your day. So, perfect world, you're out in the morning before sunrise, 30 to 60 minutes. Midday, you're out for 20 minutes because
Mm-hmm.
that's a different type of sun. And then
Mm-hmm.
sunset.
So let me just give an example of what it looks like for me. When I wake up in the morning, I go open the blinds around the house. I make my coffee, have my spoonful of sun butter before I drink the coffee for my glucose and my cortisol, really for the stress on my body that could cause. I drink 1 to 2 cups a day. It's not crazy, but still, that little habit stack is helpful. I just go stand on the patio, or if it's cold, I stand by the patio where the sunlight is near me, right? Once I'm up. And so I get that in my eyes pretty quickly when I'm waking up. But then I'm a busy mom. I got to get my kids lunch ready. I like to do my Wild Shaw face oil
Mm-hmm.
stuff, put on my sunscreen before I take him to school. But then here I am driving to school again. It's about a 15-20 minute drive for me to get him to school. I do not wear sunglasses in the
Mm-hmm.
morning. Now, what you described, where it's like get the 30 minutes, yes, but it's not what we think about. Like, well, that would be impossible for me. Well, how could it be possible? Do
Mm,
you walk the dog in the morning? Could you walk the dog in the morning without sunglasses for 15 minutes
yeah,
while you prep the lunches in the sunlight that's pouring into your house?
absolutely.
It's not like it's a full stop. And then I work through the day and I make sure in my midday is when Obi and I go on one of our walks, right? Habit stacking. And then in the evening, I'm walking Obi while Dom's at baseball without sunglasses on. And the sun's starting to start going down. And then a lot of the times we're driving home while the sun's going down, right? And so it's not like I'm just like pausing my life entirely, but I am aware of its impact on my sleep mostly.
Absolutely.
Of course, cortisol, but really to me, it's that quality of sleep that makes me feel so
Mhm.
good.
Yeah. And how you just described it is beautiful. Yes, I say 30 to 60 minutes, but if you can only get 5, fantastic.
Get 5.
Start there, build there. It's that first signal into your eyes
Mm,
and just kind of look at like Dot did, look at your environment and where can I bring more natural light? Where can I
mm,
shut the fluorescent lights off and have
mhm.
my window open? Where can I work outside in the cool Colorado mornings, before it gets too hot? There's lots of ways to bring it in, but it's really awareness. So light, water, and
Mhm.
earth, they're underappreciated, very low hanging fruit, for the most part free, unless you get the glasses. There's some water things, but that is our foundational health right there. We were taught in medical school, and many practitioners are still taught that ATP, that energy, is made from protein, fat, and carbs. Yes, it is. And we used to think that was pretty much it. So get this, 30% of our ATP is made from protein, fat, and carbs. Guess where the other 70% of our ATP comes from? Light. Light. So we're just
Mhm.
missing a massive input of health, safety, and resilience through light.
Mhm.
And part of, I think, what has happened, our lives as humans has evolved
Mhm.
indoors.
Definitely, especially in cities.
In cities, it's a whole
Mhm.
different story. But yeah,
Mhm.
so just break up your day. If you work in an office, see if you can have your lunch outside, see if you can walk outside for 5
Mhm.
minutes.
And
Because
workplaces, I find that encourage that have healthier employees, happier employees, and less personnel matters that have to be dealt with. I've noticed the
mm,
clients on retainer for me that are my termination clients, where I'm coming in and firing people more often than I'm hiring for them, they're in office spaces where they're not implementing some of those practices, right? It's a big
mhm,
deal. It is a big deal
mhm,
to encourage your employees to go for walks, reward them for going for walks during the day, reward them for
mhm.
sitting outside, set up places for them to sit outside. It does matter.
And if you think
Mental
about if
health to physical health
if
to
everybody did that just a bit,
vitality, just a
yeah,
little bit.
it's sometimes I think, and this is the wellness industry as well, but sometimes these things that aren't high tech or you don't have to spend money on, they get poo pooed. But with your podcast and your whole philosophy is put your own oxygen mask on first. If you were going to take one thing away, how can you bring more light, real natural light into
Right.
your day? And that would be my offering. I've
Yeah.
seen profound health changes. I have some patients that they're on it. It resonated with them and they
Mhm.
took this and ran with it. We can see the shift in their health metrics.
Well, and you recommend a specific app that people get on their phones as well,
Oh,
correct? For circadian rhythm?
and this is called My Circadian app. It's a fantastic place to learn more about circadian biology. I'm blanking on her name, but she's lovely. She's got wonderful free videos on there that will share with you why light at different times of the day are important. But you can go to that and it will tell you wherever you are in the world, it'll tell you when sunrise is, when UVA is,
Mhm.
UVB, and sunset. And all of those light frequencies give our health different inputs. That's why, if you can, like Dot has adjusted her day on most days,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
try to get the light frequency into your body at those times. So it's a fun app.
It's fun as a parent to have the app. Yeah.
And it's a great way to teach your kids too. Like, okay, sunrise is here. One thing I learned was I always thought sunrise, it would just be dark and then light. No, right? You have daybreak before that,
Yeah.
which is like 10, 20 minutes before actual
Mhm.
sunrise. And another question that people often ask is, do I have to look directly in the sun? Never do that. In our mountains, sometimes people don't see the actual sun until an hour after quote sunrise. You just need to be in the light. You don't even have to be able to see the sun. It's the frequency that's the light.
And the same for me, honestly, with sunset and then not having a lot of lights. Do we have to not have lights in our house? No. And then people are like, well, does it all have to be candlelight? No. But I have a lot of candles in my house that are reusable, right? Like they have little flickers in them. They're little battery powered candles, and we have them everywhere. We have them in the bathrooms and the things, and we turn those on at night. First of all, it creates a great vibe, but part of it is because it's not overhead light glaring on us, giving us more energy.
It's so
I
true.
don't need any more energy. I need a way to chill out.
Even just hearing you describe how you set the tone of the evening by bringing the lights down, I mean, everybody's nervous system will settle, right?
So beautiful.
Yeah, and it sets you up for quality sleep. Absolutely. I mean, I can geek out on light and water. And this was a big opening that I recently have been studying this over the last couple of years with a couple of my mentors. Like it's one of those intuitive knowing moments. I'm like, oh, yes, this is critical because just pushing the body with supplements, well, mostly supplements, it's not always the way. Whereas if you work with the physics first, the few amount of supplements that you do prescribe are received better by the body.
I agree.
It's fascinating.
I mean, it is. And I think we live in a generally hustle bustle world that's not as grounded as it probably used to be. And as you know, the minerals in our soil are not as nourishing, and we're just generally speaking more depleted. So, in what ways can we nourish ourselves naturally and then supplement that from there? I love that about your approach. We recently thought that my bladder spasms were related to biofilm. And so you put me on this thing called a biofilm disruptor, which if anybody wants to stop listening right now, this might be too much information. But the biofilm disruptor, we then ended up taking some vaginal testing. I didn't end up having a biofilm issue at the time. And by the way, bladder spasms, we've nailed that. We're good. I haven't had any in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whenever we last played with that.
Good.
But it was the first time I think I ever heard the term biofilm. It has caused me to have really stinky sulfur gas whenever I do have gas, which probably means we're going to revisit biofilms here again in my gut health journey. But honestly, WTF are biofilms?
Okay, this is a loaded question. Biofilms, I do think, are one of the main reasons where people get in this chronic complex illness loop. Because biofilms, I like to think of them as scaffolding. And we have scaffolding kind of over our gut lining, over the bladder lining, even in our vessel linings, we can have biofilms. And the scaffoldings are made up of different things. There's fibrin, there is DNA, extracellular DNA, there's something called curly. And depending on what is making up those biofilms, those walls, determines what disruptors we use, because we need certain disruptors to break up the different biofilms. So why do we need to break them up? What are they causing? Bacteria, virus, fungus, mold live in those biofilms. They hide. So when they're in those biofilms, say you take an antifungal or an antibiotic, they can't be penetrated. So
you can't actually kill them if they are a problem.
No, they can't kill them. So when they're in the biofilm, they can't be killed. Every now and then they start to they'll float out. We call it plankton, where they're just kind of swimming. Those we can capture. It didn't really pan out for you.
It's fine. Let's pretend like it did pan out and was the cause of my bladder spasms.
So that's often something called interstitial cystitis. People have irritable bladder. They feel like they have to pee all the time. They have pain. And you go and you get a general culture at your PCP. It doesn't grow anything out. You come to me or somebody that understands biofilms.
And you do a BV test to see if there's bacterial vaginitis, and you do a fungal test to get yeast, and they all say no, but it feels like you have a urinary tract infection and you have to pee all the time, and it is horrible.
It's very uncomfortable. And
it
so
impacts your sleep, it impacts your mood, it impacts all you can think about is peeing.
Right. It's very, very uncomfortable. So many times if we give somebody a biofilm disruptor before we do, and I do a more advanced culture, we basically like shoot holes in that biofilm. And so then the bacteria, whatever's there, can come out. Then we culture. with a
Mhm.
special culture. It's called a shotgun approach that looks at DNA of those microbes. And
Mhm.
so it's amazing what happens. People are like, well, my culture was negative, and now you're telling me I have 5 species that we
Mhm.
need to work on. So biofilms are walls that keep bacteria, viruses, molds
Mhm.
hidden from the body. And guess what makes those biofilms? Bacteria, viruses, and molds.
Mhm.
And so it's a protective mechanism for those
Mhm.
organisms to continue to thrive in your body. I do caution people when working with biofilms. I don't recommend everybody just go take a biofilm disruptor.
No, no, no. You do not want to do that because I am having challenges that you and I are going to talk about in our
Yeah.
next meeting, probably from doing the biofilm disruptor, that we have uncovered some stuff that is going to be a part of our journey together.
Absolutely. So, for instance, with Dot, we didn't uncover biofilms in the bladder,
Mhm.
but potentially through the gut. So, we've
Right.
shot some holes in the gut, and some guys of bacteria, something's coming out that's causing issues.
But I would like to say
Mhm.
previously, we've done some gut testing. We've done some things. My gut has always looked pretty good. We haven't had holes in it. Now, that being said, like we know nutritionally, my body doesn't like to absorb nutrients, which
Mhm.
leads us to think there was an issue. But there's been a number of things we've done with gut that prior to doing this biofilm disruptor haven't uncovered that we have a
Right.
challenge.
Mhm.
Right, like I poop consistently. Generally speaking, I don't have what we would classically say as stomach issues, intestinal
Right.
issues, right? Like I'm
Mhm.
not symptomatic, but is it impacting the rest of my health in some way? It definitely probably is. And it's going to be kind of
Mhm.
exciting to explore biofilms and
Mhm.
what that means to the next layer of my health with you.
Yes, and I do. I think biofilms, we are going to learn more and more and more about them.
Mhm.
And we're going to realize for a lot of people that we have missed, we didn't understand this piece as fully. And it's still only a small percentage of people are working with this, but definitely
Mhm.
in my practitioner groups, chronic complex illness, Lyme, mold, abundant viral loads, long COVID,
Mhm.
we are
Mhm.
finding by treating biofilms, we're able to get people a little further along.
I mean, I believe it. And for me, my grandfather died from Alzheimer's, and there's always this gut microbiome connection, brain, gut, and I always just think what part of it is genetic that came down the
Mhm.
line versus all the pathogens and toxins that we meet. And what are you and I uncovering that
Mhm.
is going to change the course of my child's life? Because I know this about
Absolutely.
myself and my body,
Mhm.
right? Like this isn't work that's just for me. This is an oxygen first mask and practice that you and I are doing together that impacts my child. And it has. Like the work you and
Mhm.
I did together deeply impacted when Dominic started having issues. And I reached
Mhm.
out to you, right? To be like, can you gut check this stuff with me on
Mhm.
him? He's got mold too. But what is it?
Absolutely.
And he needed
Mhm.
antidepressants too. It wasn't just that he
Mhm.
had mold. But now I kind of like know myself genetically and my body. I'm like, here, Dom, you need more magnesium at night.
Yes.
Right.
You're
And
able to,
biofilm,
yeah.
I think, is going to be an interesting part that I will get to either share with him or other people in my life after we dive down that rabbit hole.
And I will say there's many different types of biofilm disruptors. And if we know what kind of biofilm
Mhm.
a person has, even within that, there's more gentle approaches. Like I have
Right. And then
some
there's
people, yes,
binders and
yes,
there's
lots of
just
things.
you just give people so many
Mhm.
tools. And I think if I were to sit down and make a list of the things I do on a daily basis now that are part of my just daily things, so much of it came from working with you,
That's
right? Like
good.
that I do red
Mhm.
light therapy. I do
Mhm.
sauna on a somewhat consistent basis. Like just knowing what is a good rinse and repeat practice in my
Yeah.
body, knowing that when I go to the sauna, I take a binder 30 minutes before I do.
Mhm.
Right? I wouldn't have known to
Mhm.
do that if you and I hadn't worked together. And then I'll be drinking my structured water as I come out of the sauna.
I mean, absolutely. And on that note, we are dynamic beings and we're changing. So, for instance, you were doing really, really well, and now you're
Mhm.
back. So, sometimes we need to shake up those things and reconnect
Sure.
with your practitioner. And I know you have another beautiful thing that I love about you is you have a team of people that support you. And I tell all people, you need a team. right? You
I
need
believe in
body
that.
workers, you need a medical medium. I know you've had just amazing
Mhm.
success with, you need all sorts of different things, right? And then we work together to help you reach your health goals.
Thank you for pointing that out because that has been something that's been hard with moving. I had a team. I had
Mhm,
you. I had my acupuncturist. I had my lymphatic drainage massage lady. And
mhm,
all of it sounds like a lot, but really I had it mapped out to where it was very sustainable and it wasn't like extremely expensive to do it all. It just all flowed together. And then I moved. And the first
mhm.
thing I set up was stuff for Dominic. And it's been in the last 6 weeks that I've gotten my acupuncturist here. Now, is he the
Wonderful.
one that's going to stay in my life? I don't know yet. But now I do have that back in my regimen, I'd say.
Mhm,
And it does take time. And also, my body's in perimenopause, and
mhm,
permission to restart and set up new teams and not feel like I somehow failed in my
mhm.
health because I needed to work with you again. We can talk about that with seeing therapists, mental health or health in our businesses. Sometimes I have a bookkeeper and sometimes I don't. And sometimes I have 5 admins and sometimes I have one. And it is okay for us to scale up and scale down in our health
Absolutely.
and in our mental health and
Mhm,
in our physical health, like having trainers and sometimes going to gyms or sometimes working out by ourselves, right? And in our businesses, it's all the things we
mhm.
can scale up and scale down.
And it's so important and it's going to change.
Mhm.
It's just going to change because the world of perimenopause, I mean, that's a number of
Oh,
years. Nothing's fixed in our lives, right? Our
no.
physical health, our mental health, our
Mhm.
relationships, everything's in flow. When you get to those
Mhm.
places, it's asking those questions, it's discerning. Because even sometimes I think when you moved, you were like, Lynn, I need to just move everything aside for a bit. I need to see
I
where
needed
my
to.
body is on
Mhm.
its own right now. You may have kept some things,
Mhm.
but I wholly encourage people to do that. And our
I
membership is
needed a
set up to do
pause.
that. Yeah.
Mhm.
What's this look like without regular visits
Mhm.
and doing the things and taking supplement breaks? I love working with people that are willing to really deeply listen to their bodies. I'm just a guide. Most of the times people come to me, their body already knows, they already know, and we flush things out. So,
Well, you're definitely an investigator, though. Like, I think of you as like Inspector Gadget for my body and my spirituality. And I don't think I realized when we started working together, I didn't identify the nervous system component of my health that was related to my
Mm,
marriage and my stepmomhood.
huge. Yeah.
Now I knew it was stressful. And I also think you didn't fully know that
Mm-mm,
that was a
mm-mm,
big part of my
mm-mm,
issue. And
mm-hmm.
then as we removed things over time, and then eventually I remember sitting down in your office. It was profound when I said, I left Shane. And you were like, I mean, I could see like the angels pop
Mhm.
up around you. Like it was a mutual celebration of we have unveiled another layer and
Mm.
removed it from your health challenges. And
Yeah,
now
and that
you
was
have
huge,
and it was, but who would have known
huge.
that, doing a mold detox and like going down the journey we were on, I think we were probably a year or more in to the
Mhm.
journey when that layer got taken out. I mean, there were plenty of parts of that layer being taken from my life that had nothing to do with my control, right? But
Right.
once that layer was removed, it was fascinating. So,
It was fascinating. And that's why, and I say I don't have it all figured out at the beginning, nor does the patient, right? Well, it's a
no.
collaboration where we're working. And like you said, there was enough layers to come off
Mhm.
that you could
Mhm.
see, oh, wait a minute,
There's
this
still this
stressor
one. This
is
still.
actually fully impacting my health and joy.
Mhm.
And,
And it's not because I can't regulate my nervous system.
yes,
I
yeah.
couldn't regulate my nervous system.
Mhm,
And I still didn't even realize how much of a component that even was until I moved
mhm,
here. And I was fully away from that. Right.
mhm.
And that doesn't mean that individual was a bad person. It means that that wasn't a healthy thing for me. I
Yeah.
had a part in that too. Right.
Mhm,
I don't want to stir up any drama that I'm sitting here blaming, but it is interesting that there are just so many layers to this journey. And
mm,
you helped me with all of them, and I'm so
yeah,
grateful. I will
yeah.
forever be. And I'm continually excited to work with you. And I hope that anyone with somewhat of a journey knows that they can reach out to you. Now, who
Mhm.
are your ideal clients that you're working with right now? What
Uh-huh.
do your programs look like? And what's your capacity?
Okay, so ideal clients are open and curious and willing and ready to do the work. Now, that doesn't mean you have to come in and do all, quote, 6 things, unquote, at once. I meet people where they are. I have some people, and I often ask, are you somebody that likes to change everything at once, or do you want 1 or 2 things at a time?
Yeah.
And we set this system up. I am working with a lot of chronic complex illness, people who have been to multiple practitioners and are still struggling. And that doesn't mean that those practitioners didn't figure it out. It's just this point in their life, and so my superpower is endurance. I'll stay with you. I am curious. I am an investigator. I also love health optimizers. So I kind of have a bimodal practice, complex chronic illness, and then people that are like, I'm healthy, I'm great, I'm about to hit perimenopause, or I want to check everything out and age in a way that's going to optimize. And so the 2 programs that we have.
I'm probably both.
You're both. You are definitely both in such a good way. So I have really for my health optimizers or people that aren't sure about a membership practice, I have a program called the Functional Lab Program. And it's a 60-minute deep dive with me. And then I order a very comprehensive lab panel. And then you have one more visit where we go over that lab panel, identify through your health goals and the data that we now have a roadmap for you. And then I offer that roadmap. And that's just a buttoned up program. And my membership program is for people that want to do monthly visits with myself. And they also can see our nutritionist once a month and uncover and go a little deeper with some maybe more chronic things. Even my health optimizers, we may uncover early insulin resistance or elevated cholesterol. And so we'll work together 3 to 4 months to do that. So I do have a special for your
Yay! I put it in the show notes.
Good. All right. I love our Functional Lab program for people who are just curious. So we're offering $100 off that with the code Oxygen on that link. And if you're curious, schedule a discovery call, which is also hopefully in the show notes, and we can visit. That's a free 20 minutes, get to know each other and talk about what you're looking for.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And as always, it's just amazing to see you.
Yes. And Dot, I want to put a plug in for you because I love the work you're doing and the whole premise of oxygen first, put our own oxygen on first is just true across the board. And Dot has helped me with my VA journey. And I always know she is really good and clear at what she does and knows her stuff. So
thank you.
Be together on your podcast.
It's been such an honor to get to know you and work with you. So, okay, this conversation felt like oxygen, did it not? One of the biggest takeaways for me with this episode is your body is not working against you. It's actually communicating to you. And I think so many of us, especially high performers, entrepreneurs, parents, caretakers, spend years trying to override the signals instead of just listening to them, instead of getting still. Lynn reminded us that healing isn't usually one magic supplement, one perfect protocol, or one trendy wellness routine from Instagram. It's layers, it's curiosity, it's learning your own body, and it's building trust with yourself. And honestly, that's what Oxygen First has always meant to me. It is not perfection. It's not biohacking your way into becoming a machine, but it's creating enough support, enough awareness, rest, nourishment, light, safety, and space so that your body can finally exhale. If today's episode resonated with you, Lynn has generously offered our listeners $100 off of her Functional Lab package, a package that changed my life. This is an incredible starting point if you've been feeling stuck, exhausted, inflamed, dysregulated, and like something deeper is going on in your body. And you can find all of her information, links, and discount details in today's show notes. And now, your deep breath prompt for this week that I'm going to leave you with is: where in your life are you overriding your body's signals instead of honoring them? And what would you shift if you treated your body less like a problem to fix and more like a partner trying to guide you? Take a walk with that, journal on it, sit outside in the morning light and think about it. And as always, please put on your oxygen mask first. Sending you light and love. I hope you enjoy this episode. This conversation reminded you that you don't have to do it all alone. That's your cue. Go download the free Support and Breathe Return on Investment Calculator at rockconsulting.com. It's a quick, slightly eye-opening way to see how much time, money, and energy you could reclaim with the right support. And remember, support does not always mean hiring. Sometimes it's a simple ask. Sometimes it's a boundary. And sometimes it's finally letting someone be your peanut butter. If something in this episode resonated, please come tell me. I'm on Instagram at @_rock_, and I genuinely love hearing what lands for you so I can create more of them. And remember, your energy is your greatest asset. Protect it, invest in it, and always put on your oxygen mask first. I'll see you next week.